Hi, thank you all so much for attending this session. We are very excited to talk about meetings extensibility and building applications for Teams meetings. I'm Rajesh. I am a product manager in Microsoft Teams developer platform, and I'm also the PM for meetings extensibility. A little bit about me. I'm a proud Penn State alum, and I've been with Microsoft for about 3 years now.
Hi, my name is Isabella. You can reach me on Twitter at Isabella_Lubin and on LinkedIn at IsabellaLubin.com. I'm the PM lead for Teams platform dev experiences and apps core. And my part-time job outside of Microsoft is as a cat herder for Penelope in Toulouse. What we're going to be talking to today is meetings extensibility. So we're going to go over what extensibility is and what extensibility means for the rest of Microsoft Teams. We'll talk a little bit about the meetings lifecycle, and then finally we'll focus on how you can bring together extensibility and meetings to make your meetings richer than ever, to ensure that you can accomplish all of the business processes that you need to get done, and think about the power of platform paired with meetings. At the very end, we'll share a bunch of resources so that you can get started building out your own apps in meetings. So first, I want to talk a little bit about platform. Many of you are used to Microsoft Teams and how it brings together the communication and collaboration tools from across Microsoft. But one of the great values of Microsoft Teams is how developers can extend it and customize it to meet many different needs and integrate many different business processes. The value of this customization comes in many ways. There are a set of apps that are built by Microsoft and by our partners. These are apps like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, but partner apps like PagerDuty, Buncee, and GitHub. And these are ready-made solutions that you can pick up and get started with right away. If you want to build something a little bit more custom, we have a set of tools for building out low-code apps and workflows. These tools are Power Apps, Power Automate, Power Virtual Agents, and Power BI, and they let you customize the Microsoft Teams experience without having to actually write code. But some of you may want to build your own custom solution, and that's where custom applications allow you to build out your own rich experience within Microsoft Teams. So there are a set of different capabilities or interfaces, ways that you can interact with users in Microsoft Teams. These capabilities include tabs for building out rich web content or bots for conversational entities. And these interfaces can speak with different backends. You can use Azure for hosting, Microsoft Graph for getting data about users from all across Microsoft. Together, these interfaces and backends allow you to deliver rich experiences backed by content from across Microsoft. You can expose these different apps to users in many different ways that users are already working. So right now, users can have group chats, and they can bring in apps that allow them to be productive with the folks that they're chatting with. They can be collaborating in teams. They can bring apps in there. Or they can have personal experiences and have apps that increase personal productivity. What we're introducing now is the ability to bring apps into meetings and to enrich the meetings lifecycle so that users can remain collaborative and productive even while they're in meetings leveraging apps. I want to talk a little bit about the meeting lifecycle. A meeting isn't just that call that you all jump on and then it ends and then that's the end of a meeting. A meeting lifecycle begins well before the meeting actually starts and ends well after the meeting actually ends. Before the meeting, you may think about who are the important stakeholders who are needed for this meeting. What tools or processes do I need to integrate to be able to make this, the business goal that we're trying to accomplish, actually make it happen? So you'll include rich information, collaborate beforehand, and identify and add the tools that you may need to be productive. During the meeting, the focus is really on ensuring that you're collaborating together, enriching the engagement for how you make decisions, how you accomplish the goals that you have for the meeting, and meet in context with the tools that you use to remain productive. And then after the meeting, the focus is really on what are the follow-up actions for everyone who is on the call? What do we need to accomplish and how do we take this process forward? So you can see how apps can start to become really powerful tools throughout that end-to-end of a meeting lifecycle. And I'm going to hand it over to Rajesh, and Rajesh will talk a little bit more about how we're bringing together platform and these meeting constructs to make your meetings more productive.
Thank you, Isabella. So before I actually get into how to exactly build meetings extensibility applications, I'm going to give you an overview of some of the things that I'm going to be talking about. The first thing is, how do you attach your application across the meeting lifecycle? Just like Isabella mentioned, there is pre, during, and post-meeting surfaces. And I'll tell you about attaching your application across these surfaces so that your application works across the meeting lifecycle. The next thing that I'll be talking about is how your app can be aware of the meeting itself especially as a user moves through these different surfaces in the meeting lifecycle. And finally, I'll be talking about some of the new user experiences and new UX surfaces that we've been building as part of meetings extensibility. We already have partners that are building some of these applications. PagerDuty is one such partner who's built a fantastic application that will be shipping soon. PagerDuty is an incident management platform that provides real-time notifications so that teams can come together, collaborate, and actually solve some of the incidents that were raised by their customers. They should be able to do it in a collaborative fashion. So in the next few slides, I'll be walking through some of the scenarios that they're actually enabling. In the pre-meeting world, what they're doing is they're using bots and message extensions that we've enabled as part of meetings so that they can provide context before the meeting even starts. In this, you see a message extension adaptive card that's posted to the meeting chat so that participants in the meeting have the context as and when they get into the meeting. When they get into the meeting, all the participants have the necessary context on the right pane. They can make decisions and they can have productive discussions, all with the context that they started off with on the right pane. And as we all know, with any meeting, there are always action items that happen after the meeting. So leveraging the same surface for post-meeting and leveraging the same capabilities like bots and message extensions, they can complete the process by assigning tasks and assigning follow-up items after the meeting as well. Just like PagerDuty, we have Bunsy, who is also one of our partners that has invested in meetings extensibility. Bunsy is a tool mainly catered and empowers educators and administrators to create and share visually engaging and interactive content. They call it Bunsies. And in the next few slides, what you'll be seeing is how Bunsy is actually going about this experience. They can point the app to the URL, rather the Bunsy that is of interest for them. They can also set it up before the meeting so that they are prepared for the meeting itself. And when they actually join the meeting on the right pane, they're going to have the necessary information to have a discussion about the Bunsy that is of interest. Just like PagerDuty and Bunsy, there are a plethora of partners that are building apps for meetings extensibility. There's Smartsheet, there is Poly, there's Monday.com, and many, many more. And these apps will soon be available to all our users. Just like these partners, you can also build applications for meetings extensibility. The next few slides are going to be a step-by-step guide, rather, to enable your experiences across the meeting lifecycle. Let's first start with before the meeting. Before the meeting, your app can be added to the meeting chat and it can be added to the meeting details page as well. Tabs, message extensions, bots are some of the app capabilities that can be powered in this space. Notice that in the tab gallery, there is a section called Optimized for Meetings. If you're wondering what that section is and how your app can be lit up in that section, wait till I get to during meeting and I'll circle back to that very point. Now, for your app to be available in before the meeting, there are a few steps that you have to take as part of your development process. In the next slide, I talk to you about the manifest itself. The first change in the manifest is scopes. In order for your app to be available in the meeting space, you will need to have a group chat scope. Group chat scope is very similar to the regular group chat because meeting chat and group chat use the same underlying infrastructure. The second thing that you notice is context. Context is where we can provide the necessary context and light up your app in the context that is of interest to you. Meeting chat tab is that context that tells us that you want your app to be lit up in the pre-meeting space. For those pro developers out there, yes, we have made changes to our manifest. We've added a new field called context under configurable tabs. There are a few different titles that you can provide us with. I highly encourage you to read the public documentation for the manifest schema to understand more about these contexts. Now that your app is lit up in the before meeting experience, for during meeting, you can continue to build rich experiences just like the side pane that you see here. In order to do this, you will be editing your manifest, and the context in this case is meeting side panel. Meeting side panel is that signal for us to determine that your app is actually optimized for meetings. So going back to the tab gallery that I mentioned just a few minutes back, for your app to feature in the bucket on top for optimized apps, we will have to have some signal from you to say that it's enabled as a meeting side panel application as well. In addition to having a side panel in the meeting window, we are also exposing a net new surface for surfacing notifications in the meeting. As part of this experience, you can use this surface to engage participants during a meeting and also get actionable information from them in the meeting itself. Polling is actually a great example of this. The way a developer can start building this experience is using our existing Conversations API. You're probably familiar with this if you've used the bot SDK with the platform offering that we have today. As long as you have a registered bot with a bot ID, and as long as you're able to generate a bot token, you can use this existing API with just the new field that we've added to the post payload. In the post payload, you'll notice the new field is titled as external resource URL. That is the URL that we'll embed in the notification module. The popular question here is this any different from task module? It's not. It's the same underlying infrastructure that we've used. It's a task module with a hosted web content. This is a notification service that resembles task modules that we currently have in our platform today. Once you build these experiences for during the meeting, we finish with the last stage of the meeting lifecycle, which is after the meeting. This is no different from what you've done for before the meeting. As long as you've built experiences for before the meeting, it continues to piggyback on that infra for after the meeting as well. In this case, we show a tab where an organizer or presenter is able to update the application with information based on the discussion that they had during the meeting. Now that you have a good idea of what the meeting lifecycle is and the new UX surfaces that we've introduced, some critical information as you start thinking about building applications is this slide, where we talk about the different roles and different user types. If you see to your left, we have organizers, presenters, and attendees. These are what we call as roles in a meeting. And then we have different user types in tenant, guest, and anonymous. Now, a user type can have one of these roles, with exception to anonymous users. An anonymous user cannot be an organizer. But for the most part, these user types can assume one of these roles in the meeting. The only exception comes for adding, removing, and uninstalling an app in the meeting lifecycle. Attendees, if a participant has an attendee role, they will not be able to add, remove, or uninstall an app in the meeting's lifecycle. Similarly, guest and anonymous users will not be able to add, remove, or uninstall apps in the meeting lifecycle, regardless of the role that they have in the meeting. As part of our developer platform for meetings, we are exposing the participant role API. In this API, you will be able to determine whether a user is an organizer, presenter, or attendee, and you can cater appropriate experiences for them. The way this API works is you'll need to give us meeting ID, participant ID, and tenant ID, and we will give you the role in return as part of the return payload. The way you give us the meeting ID, participant ID, and tenant ID can be one among these three methods: tab SSO, Teams client SDK, or the bot invoke payload. Bot invoke, for those who are already familiar with the platform, message extensions actually use bots as the underlying infrastructure. So when I say bot invoke, it applies to bots and message extensions. Meeting ID can be retrieved through the Teams client SDK and bot invoke, whereas participant ID and tenant ID can be retrieved across all these three methods. However, we highly recommend you to use tab SSO, and the documentation for tab SSO and Teams client SDK are shared. In addition to this, we are also introducing frame context. If you recall, I said that your app should be aware of the meeting. Frame context is a developer tool where a developer will be able to retrieve from where the user invoked their app. For example, I could have invoked the app from the meeting window, or I could have invoked the app from pre and post meeting surfaces. A developer should know this in order to cater the right experience for the user based on the frame context that they have. Again, refer to the documentation for this. And finally, Teams as a platform, we've always put our admins at the front and center. As part of this capability, we have introduced anonymous users to interact with apps. An anonymous user can join a meeting and they can actually interact with apps. Some of the critical controls here, if an admin actually goes to admin.teams.microsoft.com, they can then go to the meeting settings on the left navigation menu, and they'll see a toggle that's titled Anonymous Users Can Interact with Apps and Meetings. We've turned this on by default because we want anonymous users to also participate in meetings. However, an admin can actually go in here and turn it off if they do not want anonymous users to participate with apps in a meeting. In addition to this, we already have Teams app policies. We'll be using the same infrastructure, which means if you've set your application policies for users, all those will apply for even apps that work in meetings. There are two ways you can actually control this. One is through the org-wide app settings, and the other is through user-level permission policies. There are a few other sessions that we'll be referring to at the end of this deck. I highly recommend you to attend those sessions if you want to learn more about policies. And finally, like I've said earlier, only organizers and presenters in a meeting can add, remove, and uninstall applications. This is by design so that organizers and presenters have control over their meeting. Now, that's a lot of information. We actually want to bring these things together with Poly. Poly is a polling application, and they've built an excellent experience that will be shipping soon for our users. So if you see what Poly has done, they have actually leveraged meeting chat tab in the manifest as part of the context experience so that they have an experience that works before and after the meeting. Notice that they're able to draft polls. They're able to see polls that are live all in the tab because they enabled meeting chat tab as a context. During the meeting, they've actually leveraged the meeting side panel as part of the manifest, which is why they're able to render an experience on the side panel. Notice that they've also used the get participant role API, which is why they see the create poll button. And also this particular user, who probably is an organizer or presenter, is able to see the polls that they've drafted. They also use the frame context API to determine that the user has invoked the app from during the meeting, which is how they're able to render a rich experience on the side panel. On the next slide, you'll see the in-meeting notification. They are generating this notification through the Conversations API with the external resource URL that was part of the post payload, which I spoke about earlier as well. This particular user is an attendee, which means their participant role is just an attendee. Their side panel experience is different. You don't see the create poll button. You don't see polls that are in drafts, right? So they've used the participant role API to actually generate this experience, and of course the frame context API to generate that rich experience. So with Poly, you see how everything comes together across the meeting lifecycle to deliver a rich experience. We encourage you to build applications as soon as possible. We are very excited. The opportunity here is humongous. There are billions of meeting minutes, and then the app platform and the usage of applications in Teams is also growing tremendously. So this is a huge opportunity, and we encourage you to check out our links on the next slide, where you can refer to technical documentation, some sample app, and also we encourage developers to start by looking at the design guidelines. We do have some prescribed guidelines for you to follow so that when you actually finish building your application, it's rich and it's actually extremely powerful for our users. In the next slide, we have a few sessions that I spoke about earlier in my presentation that we would like you to go and attend. These are some of the sessions that are very, very close in a way related to the things that we just spoke about, and gives you more information on some of the things around the Teams developer platform. And finally, there's a virtual hub, which is a deep dive technical training session at aka.ms/virtual hub. We recommend you to attend that as well. Thank you so much for attending our session. We look forward to seeing all the rich experiences that you build.